Hello and welcome to this video tutorial from Computergaga.com, and in this video we are going to look at how to use the select case statement in Excel VBA. Now the select case statement offers a cleaner and more concise alternative to writing nested ifs. So when you're performing multiple tests and quite complex logic, it could be that select case is a better environment to write it. And we'll hopefully see some of the potential benefits to it in this video. I've got a couple of examples to showcase it as well. So I've got this example of exam scores, so some numbers to test. And as you can probably imagine here, I want to assign a grade. And I'm looking at assigning a different grade depending on whether the value, the exam score, is greater than 90%, greater than 80%, or greater than 70%, and so on. I then have another example for regions where, depending where the location is, I want to assign a region, such as it's in the Midlands, or it's in Scotland, or it's in the South. That is the idea, so I'll be testing text in that pretend scenario. Both these scenarios start from row 2. You can check them out here, with the result going in column C. That's going to be used in the code, so I'll give you a heads up of that first. That's not the most important thing about the video. We're here to learn select case, but for a real world example of it in use, there will be a loop looping through every region, or in the first example every exam score, and doing its thing. Now let me switch to the Visual Basic editor. In here I've written the basic structure of select case in some comments above. So we write the word select case and we follow it with the kind of expression, the thing that we're testing. What are you testing? And then we provide the conditions. We write the word case followed by the condition. So they're the different if tests, if you will. And then the actions to perform. Now the actions to perform don't have to be on a different line, although they're indented quite neatly and stuff here. I could provide them on the same line and just put a colon in between and write it like that. Condition colon and keep it all in one line. That will also summarise the code and maybe keep it a little bit neater. Maybe. I guess it depends on what you're writing, and I've got some examples of it here. So let's get into those examples. Now if I show a bit of this code further down, I've already created the variable and created a loop so that we don't have to concern our time with that. And that is just looping through every cell within those two lists. Starting off with the first one here, the exam scores, let's do the select case statement. So let's quickly remind ourselves of what it looks like. So the exam scores in column B, the grade is going in column C. Let me go back. So here we go. Select case. We all start with those words as showcased in the example code above, and then the expression to test. Now in this example it's cells, open bracket, the variable that I'm using to track the row numbers, and then the column to test, which is column 2, dot value. That's the expression I'm testing. And let me put my end select in now before I potentially forget, because that will end this select case statement, just like loop ends a do loop. Now if I indent in, we now have our different cases. So in this first example, I'm going to write if the case is greater than or equals 0.9. So 90%, but I'm writing it as 0.9. Then I can press my enter and tab in. Now notice that I did not type this, but they put in the is keyword there. You must use that is keyword. The case is greater than or equals. Now I didn't type that, but they put that in for me. Now in this indented line, what to do? Well, I'm going to say that if that is the case, cells row num, comma 3, the value will be the score of a grade A. And now what I can do is probably just copy those lines that I've typed and repeat them a few more times. Let me try that again. Here we go. So let me backspace and just paste those in a few more times. And I'll put in the other conditions. So rather than doing multiple, kind of else if, this typical if statement route, I can do it like this. So if it's greater or equals 0.8, B, greater or equals 0.7, that'll be a C, greater or equals 0.6, that's going to be a D. And then it shows you above, you can use the else case. This is a little bit like the value if false of our if statements. I can simply write case else, and then that will be, let's take a copy of this one and put that in here, and I'll just make that E. So anything else will make it E. So that is an example of a select case statement, with the argument for it being that it's quite concise and it's quite clean and summarised, compared to what if statements can look like, where if this then that, else if, and this kind of behaviour. So let's see this in action. This is a macro called select case examples. If I go back to my code and let's run it from in here, if I go to maybe view and I go to macros and I run my select case examples, let's run that, it puts it in. So here we go, 60% is a D. There's somebody getting in the else case there with an E. Got two 90s getting above the A's. So we can see that that works. Let me just delete that code, those results, and go back to the code. Because I want to show another way that we could have written that. So rather than asking if it's greater or equals 90, greater or equals 80, you may have noticed that the order I write that is important. Very much like nested ifs. It's important that it's going from the 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, working its way up. If that's not in the right order, that doesn't work. Now let's look at it in example, where instead of writing it like that, I could just simply have written case, and maybe I'll write it in the other order this time, because it doesn't matter. I could write case 0 to 0.6, and maybe I'll put it on one line this time to show that that's possible. Put in a colon, and then maybe I'll remove these up to the top line. So this is another way that I could have written that. Let's take a copy of that line. Let's paste it over all this stuff. I'm not going to bother with the else case this time. It's completely optional. You don't have to use else cases. Now, how many do I need? I think it's 5. Let's find out. 0.7. I guess I should put 6.1 in this scenario. 0.71 to 0.8. 0.81 to 0.9. And then 0.91. I've kind of got this all the way around really. That should be 0.9 to 1. Let's try and tidy this up. That's a grade A, that's a grade B, that's a grade C, that's a grade D. As I'm flipping the order around, I did not have to change this order. Maybe I'm making a little bit more work for myself in this example. I don't know. But I'm just trying to use an example. That should have been 59. That's what kind of threw me off. Where maybe it makes sense to read it in this way. It may make more sense to people reading it in this way. 7, 9, 8, 8, 9. And it's the fact that I've put it on one line. Maybe that's a bit more clutter. Maybe it's hard to read. And you can put your opinion on that. But it's certainly shorter lines. It's more condensed if I'm putting this in a large amount of code. I want to show that this will work equally well. I'm using this kind of between logic as well. Quite easy to write it like that. It's not always that easy in if statements to do, that's an and logic coming in there normally. But case this to this, case this to this. It reads quite nicely. and the action to perform after a colon. Let me come out and run that. View, macros, let's keep it consistent how I run this. And the same answers, same job. 80% gets a B, 60% is a D, 90 to get A, and so on. So 2 different ways of writing it there. Showcasing the case is greater than or equals 90, for example, and the case 0 to 0.59, for example, technique. And also showing you can put it on 2 lines or 1 for maybe clarity of reading or a nice condensed code. Now I've not got enough. Let's try that again. I've got another sheet with some regions, and I wanted to show testing text because it's a really, really cool thing we can do here in the example I've got. So I've got a couple of Scottish locations: Glasgow, Aberdeen. I've got some in the Midlands like Peterborough, Milton Keynes, Leicester. Some in the South like London, Brighton, Southampton, and a couple in the North, Leeds and Manchester. So let's go into my code. Let's completely take that out and start again. No, let's not start again because that stuff there will be the same. Select case, I'm testing the same column, different sheet, but I won't put in that in code. I'll just make sure I'm on that sheet. And for this example, check this out. We can write case is. Remember, you need that keyword is, but also remember when I did it earlier, it did it for me. Now I can do multiple tests. Check this out. I can put case is London, comma, Brighton. Let's get an I in there. Comma, Southampton. Check that out. So I can write it like this. So let's put my equals in there. I forgot my conditional operator. Instead of, when you do an if statement, having to put the or logic in there, I specify the case up front. It's going to be column B. And then I test it if it's this, this, or this. Whereas in an if statement, you'd have to repeat yourself with that variable or with that cell and say how, if, name the variable equals this, or name the variable equals this, or name the variable equals this. So your code naturally gets larger, more potential for typos and mistakes. And this is very clean and concise. Remember, I can put that colon in and type, but I'll go for another line instead. Now it's the action to perform. That is going to be cells, row num, column 3, close the bracket, dot value is equal to, these are in the south, put the word south in. Let's take a copy of this and try and rattle these in. Purpose of this example is to showcase how I can do multiple tests like this. Really, really useful. You can do the same with numbers, by the way. It doesn't have to be just text. I could have said case is equal to, 3, 7, 12, or 18, or something like that, and use numerics or kind of dates, maybe like days of the week, if it's a Tuesday or a Thursday. This is just my demonstration for now. I can't possibly cover every scenario. I'll be here all week. Remember again that you don't need the else case, so I'm omitting the else case in this example. Let's go in and just quickly, fast as I can do so, put in the other examples. I've got to try and remember what kind of towns and cities I've used here. I've got Aberdeen in there, that is Scotland. And if I try and target the north now, I've got Manchester in there. I've got Leeds in there. Oh dear. I think they're the only 2 for the north in this example. And then, don't forget the Midlands. Where am I going? Midlands are involved in this example as well. For them we have Peterborough. I really should choose ones that are easier to type. What am I doing? Milton Keynes. And Leicester was the other one I used. Right, here we go. So that is the finished example here. Look at all those text tests, but put them on one line. Nice and simple. No need for or logic and stuff. Keyword is. separate line putting them in there, only referring to the expression once rather than multiple times for every single test, which would have to do with our nested ifs. Let's see this in action. Let me minimize this. Here we go. View, macros, run the select case example, and there we have it. We have the two Scotlands in there, we have the Midlands ones in there, we have the North ones in there, and over to the South. So, a few examples of the select case example there, select case statement there, just trying to demonstrate in this video the possible advantage it has over other logical functions. You know, the primary one being if, and it being an alternative to nested ifs. There are other logical functions that I've not bothered mentioning in this video, which are far less likely, but you guys watching it might be aware of. And select case is just another one to the mix, but it's a real common environment for when you are performing multiple tests, especially like that last one I demonstrated, and how much cleaner that would be in performing this kind of thing. Or my previous example with numbers and how I could use that case 0 to 0.59 so easily. I hope you enjoyed this video and will find it useful. Please check out some of our other videos on our YouTube channel and come check us out at Computergaga.com.